Obviously, there's a lot of talk about the housing crisis, and for good reason. We're building on average 800,000 units a year, which is about 100,000 short of what we need. The LAO report recently said that we need about $250 billion in order to in funding for housing if we're going to fix the housing crisis. That's a significant number. And I will talk about the 130 bills kind of in pockets, because I think you kind of have to look at them in segments. Traditionally, California, the legislature, the state, has focused on providing funding for affordable housing. So again, we're seeing some of those bills this year. Some of them are focusing on taxes. I'll talk a little bit about that. There's the big bond that they're promoting, and then there's also fees. So the fee that they're proposing this year is with regard to real property transfers. Taxes, a couple that we're labeling job killers this year is ACA 4, which would reduce the voter threshold to impose new taxes on parcels to 55%. And then ACA 11, which would focus on retail. It would place a tax on retail for purchases of personal property. So you're seeing those traditional mechanisms that the state has always used. What's different this year is that you're also seeing the state move into more of what traditionally has been the local government's arena of housing. And I will put those in little pockets too. One pocket is kind of trying to promote housing development. And in that pocket, what we're seeing is some bills trying to kind of taking the permit streamlining approach to kind of create ministerial approval of certain projects, for example, around transit corridors or trying to promote housing density projects. Some of those we are supporting, the ones that make sense, we are supporting. Others, the problem with a few of those bills are that one, either they're so specific in terms of the requirements that you would have to meet that they're not going to work for a lot of projects. And second, some of them have prevailing wage tied to them, which will make the project infeasible. So you're seeing, an intent to try and promote housing development. Unfortunately, we're just seeing a lot of conditions on those so that they're not really going to do a whole lot for us, I think, on the ground. Then you're also seeing kind of, so you're seeing there's a focus on promoting accessory dwelling units. So that would be a promotion, for single-family uses to have an accessory dwelling unit on their property. We're seeing a few of those bills. And then I would say a second category is kind of like the stick approach. We're seeing a number of bills that are trying to hold local governments responsible for meeting their housing element general plan requirements, for building housing sufficient for the population growth, and also to hold them responsible for meeting the Housing Accountability Act. A few of those that we're supporting is SB 167, that's a Skinner bill. That would require, it's to hold local governments responsible for meeting their population growth. And when we also have a Boca Negra bill, which is AB 678 that we're supporting as well, and that would require local governments to make certain findings in terms of projects so that they can meet their requirements under the Housing Accountability Act. And then I would say we're seeing if there's a number of bills that are focusing on local areas specifically. So you're seeing a few Oakland, San Francisco specific bills. So those aren't going to have any statewide impacts. And then I would say we see the bills that I call going the wrong way bills. We had a couple of CEQA expansion bills. SB 224 was a job killer that would have attempted to redefine baseline under CEQA. Fortunately, that bill was held in appropriations last week. We also saw AB 199, which would have imposed prevailing wage on private projects. Fortunately, that was amended so that the job killer tag also was removed from that one. There is another CEQA bill out there, AB 890, which is eligible for vote on the floor. That bill would actually subject local land use initiatives to the CEQA process. In other words, if you think about that logically, what would that do? The whole idea behind the initiative process is to streamline it, to make it go fast. If you require it to go through CEQA, it's going to be sitting for quite a while. So those, I would say, are the wrong way bills, and that's generally what we're seeing in housing.